It doesn't sound like the Cardinals will be back next week until they play the Ironworkers.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Frank Zimmer. I've been a member here about a little over 9 years, and I'm your golf chair. So tonight is really all about golf. We have done our due diligence, having different meetings, focus groups, and this is really the outcome of these focus groups that we had back in March and April. So I'd like to introduce again to you Mr. Jeff Lawrence, our architect, who's been able to do and really perform all of this detailed design summary. We both discussed this since this is a relatively good-sized crowd. If you have a question that we can answer and it's right on topic, we'll do our best to acknowledge your question and answer it right then and there. If you feel that we can wait for it, we have a Q&A session at the end. Okay? So without further ado, Mr. Jeff Lawrence.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for attending tonight. I know everybody's schedule is very busy, but thank you for being here. It's going to be kind of a short and sweet presentation. I really want to open it up to the floor for open dialogue. So what we'll do is go through some slides, give you an understanding of what our goals are tonight, and discuss some of the details of the detailed design document plan set. So really the goals for tonight, review the process, where we've been, where we are, and where we eventually will head. Discuss the detailed design documents. There's some samples. There's some samples on the wall over here. There's some samples on the back that you can peruse at your leisure. But we'll discuss them as we go through this slide presentation. Implementation options, timelines, cost estimates, and recommendations. That will probably be the heart and soul of this presentation, as far as letting you understand what the plan is, what the options are, what the cost implications are, and timelines as well. So I think that'll all come together. Hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll have some questions for me and try to clarify as much as we possibly can. At the end, once again, this is your club. You know, it's my job to articulate what the detailed design plans are and what your options are, but I want to hear from you once we get through this process. So almost a year ago, we did a master plan. The club hired me to do a master plan. We had, I played with numerous members. We had focus groups. From that perspective, I did a master plan set that basically the master plan is a 30,000 foot level guide, if you will, that kind of makes recommendations based off what I've heard and seen and played with the members. So that was the main guide for going into the detailed design plans. My understanding was the club polled the membership, what was priority to them, based off the master plan documents. And these here are what was came out of the poll. The poll was bunkers first, drainage was second, tees, greens and surrounds, and beautification / landscaping. So that's in order of priority based off the poll that the club had sent out to the membership. How many people participated in that? Very good. Thank you for doing that. So based off that, I prepared the detailed design documents. It took about 3 months to prepare. Once again, it gets down into more the nitty-gritty of all these five different options that the membership voted on. So you'll see everything from green renovation to bunker renovation to tee renovation to drainage and beautification before and after factors, which is there's a couple, there's a sheet over in the corner that kind of represents what that might look like. So the big question is, why do we need to do this? I touched on this in my master plan summary presentation. So let's go through the 4 main areas that were identified in the master plan and more specifically identified in the detailed design documents. First, rebuild and design bunkers. That was the most feedback that I received, where we don't like our bunkers, can't get in and out of them, can't maintain them, they're not sustainable, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, that was, once again, that was the biggest take that I got from all the meetings and playing with members, et cetera, that was most important to the membership. So basically, that improvement would be redesign the bunkers to where they'd be more playable, maintainable, do drainage, do bunker liner, do sand, and then resod it. Drainage, obviously their golf holes kind of sit down in the valley in most situations with the housing on either side. Water runs downhill, so guess what? Golf gets blunt run of it. So there's about 6 or 8 different areas identified throughout the golf course that will receive drainage. Tee renovation. Once again, this was a big topic that, tees typically get smaller over time. Alignment gets adjusted just because of mowing patterns. So we want to take a good look and recommendation of a tee renovation, which would be basically realigning the tees, subsurface drainage, sand capping, and resodding. We'll enlarge the tees about 10% on most tees, and then on other tees we'll enlarge quite a bit to create more teeing space, especially on par 3s, which will allow you more yardage variation between the 4 par 3s. And then lastly, greens renovation and green surrounds. As everybody knows, your greens have been compromised over the last few years, and there have been temporary fixes. Driving in today from afar, it looked awful good to me, but really the nuts and the bolts and the lifeblood of the greens is the subsurface material. I think if you relook at the master plan document, there's a big section in there that identifies the subsurface challenges that you currently have. Aaron and his team have done a great job with what they have to work with. And I know it seems like today that everything's good and fine, but there's a report in the master plan as well that identifies what the green substructure looks like from a technical standpoint, and is recommended by more than myself and accredited labs, USGA, doctorates of soil science have recommended that something needs to be done, whether it's in the short term or long term, just because of the technical data that we have.
Jeff, quick question. What we gave to you and what you looked at, would you have done anything differently? Would you have prioritized anything differently? Would you have approached it differently?
We're going to get to that later.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great question. That is great. Yeah, very good question. So this is a quick snapshot. Once again, this was in the master plan documents. It just gives you a quick understanding of what the lifespan of different elements of the golf course are. Now this is all accredited by the allied associations, the USGA, the PGA, the Architects Society, the Owner Society, the builders. So these are kind of ranges of what your different aspects, your different elements, your different features of the golf course what their lifespan is. So right now, your greens are 15 to 30 years. The subsurface of your greens right now are 50 years. You're getting a lot out of what you have right now. Bunkers, I know you redid the bunkers, I think 3 or 4 years ago. The bunkers, there's wear, there's contamination, there's sustainability. I know Aaron and his team spent a lot of time trying to stand up on bunker faces. Unfortunately, when the bunkers were redone, they weren't, in my opinion, they weren't built correctly. That's why you have the challenges that you have. Irrigation system you've taken care of, and it just goes down through the, the different aspects of the golf course. So just something to look at when it's sent out, and just kind of peruse that. So once again, you probably have seen most of the plans. Just put them up here for you. We've gone hole by hole, identified exactly what we're going to do, identified quantities. Those quantities really drive the budget. I provide the quantities. I've given it to a very qualified golf course construction company to price. So the pricing is real pricing as it is today. Now, if we do something a year or 2 or 3 years down the road, obviously we'll have to reprice it. But the exercise of all this detailed design is very specific, defined scopes of work that relate to quantities, and then that quantity, there's a price associated with that. Once again, just some graphic details. This spreadsheet here is basically what you have today and the proposed numbers and the increase in green square footages, bunkers, tees, sod allowances, drainage, etc. So that's an all-encompassing spreadsheet that really helps drive the calculation of the BOQ, which is built quantities, which that's kind of the document that we use when pricing projects.
Frank, is this gonna be put together so that we can all take away and read it, or?
It'll be emailed out to the entire membership.
Thank you.
We're also recording the presentation, so we can have this. And these illustrations all against the wall here, these are ours. We will maintain these and hopefully find a home for them so that you can take them together while we're here.
Jeff, the scope of drainage. So almost all of our drainage are 50-year-old steel corrugated pipe from the ground. They're all rusting, did you look at that entire infrastructure of drainage or just select?
It was a select areas within the golf course that is what we call golf course drainage. So there'd be 2-inch and 4-inch sizes. No storm drainage was addressed. So these are just some pictures of past projects that I've done, bunker renovation, drainage, in a bunker. This upper picture is from Pine Lake that we just finished on the other side of Charlotte, just reopened. That was a total green complex renovation. So it's just a kind of a graphic sample of what that might look like.
Jeff, you had mentioned that our bunkers were not redone correctly. What did we do wrong in reconstructing our bunkers?
Well, the faces of the bunkers are too steep. They kind of come up and under, and there's what we call angle of repose. Certain sands have different angles of repose, but no sand will stay up on a vertical face. Plus you have bunker liner, you have an old outdated bunker liner. The new bunker liners now will maintain a steeper grade. So a combination of all that, that's why you see the bunker liner kind of when that flash comes up, it's almost a vertical face. It's impossible to keep sand on that. And it's very difficult to get in and out of bunkers, not just for people, but for machinery. So, once again, we're not digging a hole and filling it with sand. There's got to be the low lead-ins where you can get in and out of the bunker, faces that are maintainable. So that total combination is why I think the bunkers, in my professional opinion, were not built correctly.
Jack, in my opinion, there are two bunkers on the course that meet safety standards, don't have these high safety, are not difficult in any angle. These are the two bunkers on 18 green. So, members who haven't been in these bunkers ought to take a look, but that's what the bunkers should generally look like.
Okay.
Certainly fairway bunkers. And the ones in difficult positions, like on number 8, for example, is not ideal. But take a look at these two bunkers on number 18.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So the new bunker renovation, if that's voted on, once again, the bunkers would be totally redesigned to be maintainable, be sustainable for the long term. So
Why
once
they
again,
need to be moved?
there are some that are to be moved, mostly fairway bunkers, to get it reorientated to create a more creative fairway line and a little bit more strategy. I mean, greenside bunkers are pretty close, some have kind of gravitated away, so, it will be a totally different style bunker. Okay, implementation schedule and options. Once again, it's based off the priority that was identified by the membership. Kind of gives you a duration, a timeline, the course status, whether the course can stay open during that scope of work. And then are there any efficiencies by doing just that one task? So a lot of times when you do multiple projects, there's economies of scale. And sometimes you can salvage the greens mix and use that for drainage or tea mix if you renovate the tees. So there is some synergy if you pick and choose to do more than one project at a time. Just wanna look at that, we're gonna go through it. Everybody can read it.
Hey Jeff, I got a question on, if you did the bunker renovation, which was the top priority, right? And a lot of those bunkers around the greens, how do you then come back later, years later, and do the greens and surrounds? Aren't you taking those greens way down and having to rebuild the bunkers again at that point in time? How would you do that?
You'd have to respect some of the grades around the green, you know, where the bunker face. Really, the challenge you have in the bunkers is not outside the bunker, it's inside the bunker. So, would have probably respect most of the grades on the top side of the bunker.
But you'd be digging those greens redo the greens. You're tearing those greens down 2 or 3 feet and having to rebuild them up, right?
No, you just core them out. So you identify a core line and you dig straight down.
So you're not.
So you're not reshaping your
Okay.
greens. Your green contours, for the most part, are fine. They're not. The green surfaces are not being redesigned. It's a technical renovation to get the subsurface, the drainage, the material up to quality standards so that you can confidently grow consistently healthy turf.
So you're drilling down with what, 4-inch holes and rebuilding that green?
No,
You're like digging a
take
ball.
a mini X and excavate down 16 inches and bring it back up with gravel. It would be new drainage, gravel, 4 inches of gravel, 12 inches of mix.
But you're cutting into where the bunkers are. You're saying you'd just be inside those
It'd
bunkers?
be outside that.
Okay, got it.
So you're like basically digging a pool.
They're gonna pull.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So what is the surrounds portion of the 8 to 10 months renovation?
There's a
It's
recommendation.
not the bunker proper.
Correct. So there's an opportunity, and I think I touched on this in the master plan presentation. You have an opportunity to really enhance your green surrounds. And that is the time to do it. If you're gonna, go and do your greens, I think it's the proper time, and probably from an economies of scale, to go ahead and touch more things around the green to create more runoff areas, collection areas, low-mow areas, create more interest to the green complexes.
So,
So it's, I mean,
so surrounds is the bunker complex and then exclusive of the greens then? Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
So if you, so the surrounds would be minus bunkers, minus putting surfaces. It's the surrounding features.
Okay.
Can you give us an example, like take a hole,
Sure.
number 8, for example?
So we'll take number 1.
Number one,
Okay, bunker stays where it is, okay, redesign. But then there's a low that's cut up the left side and behind the green. So a more concave swale that will be cut in fairway. So that fairway cut goes all the way around the green to the back side.
And I think, you know, to a certain extent, Aaron has already started to do this, okay? Think of number 5, part 3. Before on the left side, it was always pretty much just rough.
Can you use the mic? Yeah,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
So Aaron has been trying to do this and accomplish some of this. We just used the example of number 1, I think for all of you who played it, on the left side now. It's more closely mowed, going up the hill towards the homes there and around through the back, and even down towards the cart path a little bit. Just as another example on number 5, we have now an access to that green from the left. If you pull your shot over the bunker, there's still a nice little apron that you can come up that. And I think that's what you were describing, a little bit more of that. Obviously, you would have it more detailed than that, but I think Aaron's been trying to accomplish more of that.
And that's, you know, I've talked to Aaron about, you know, mowing patterns, you know, what can he do now? And I think he's implemented that. I think the first one he did was on 9, where, you know, there's a fairway cut that goes around the left bunker, et cetera.
Yes.
But this extent, what I'm talking about, and when we get into the schedule and the budget of it, is you'll actually reshape the surrounds to create a meaningful, you know, low-mow areas, collection areas, receptive contours, et cetera. So it's more of a all-in than just a mowing pattern.
Jeff, one quick question. I think of like, is there really a need, one time I was told we had 50 free bunkers, capital practice. Is there a certain, I mean, sometimes we say this is recreational course versus a PGA course. Is there a need for that many bunkers? We don't want them.
I don't think the golf course is over bunkered. I mean, we are taking some bunkers out. I mean, my recommendation is to take a few out. My plan represents, I think, 46 bunkers. So we're combining some bunker complexes into one, like number 9 fairway bunker. 13, yeah, so just trying to make them, you know, easier to maintain instead of, you know, a lot of small bunkers, we have to mow between, et cetera. So, that's a good question, but I don't think the golf course is over bunkered. I don't think it's under bunkered either. We'll take a closer look at that when we get into, you know.
When we put our money into range, something like that, would it be an option, say, hey, let's eliminate percentage?
Yeah, I mean, you can value engineer for sure. Okay. We'll pass this one.
That was a call.
Okay. So here are the estimated cost projections. Once again, it's based off the scope of work, which is identified in my plans, which is quantities related to unit cost, multiply the 2, and you come up with the budget number. So once again, it's prioritized based off the polling of the club. This number here is, this is a green renovation, and this here is a green surrounds. So if you did an all-in number, that would, the 2 million, 2.37 would be greens and surrounds.
If you did it at the same time.
Correct. one thing to note here, these numbers are basically, what, for lack of a better term, à la carte. So each project, each scope here has a mobilization and demobilization number. So if you did multiple ones at the same time, the cost would go down.
So you were saying that there's potentially a savings if you did the green surrounds and bunker redesign at the same time, because you're already doing that area.
That's correct.
I got a question on the tee box renovations, which, because the ladies have yellow tees now, which I guess you could loosely call tees. Which side of tee box renovation, would that provide, the ladies go from the yellow tees with the true tee box?
Yeah, they would be formalized teams. Definitely.
Red and yellow.
Red and yellow would be identified tees, correct.
Jack, to follow up on the
Yeah.
box renovation.
And sometimes you're in a fair.
Historically, we've had a problem trying to maintain tee boxes because of trees, sun, shade. So, have you taken into consideration if we're just building the tee box and revamping it, or are we gonna run into the same problem 2 years later with, because of the trees and everything, we lose the tee box?
Well, we certainly can look at more shade tolerant grass types, like zoysia.
Okay.
You know, we didn't dive into the clearing very deep because there is a lot of the HOAs involved, and, you know, there's a lot of variables to go along with that. But
That's my concern, spending that kind of money to revamp the tee box, and then a year or two later, we lose the tee box because of the
because of the shade issues.
Yeah, and I was just wondering if that was taken into consideration.
Yes and no. I mean, it was more for enlarging the tees, especially on par threes. I think we can look at doing zoysia tees, which are more shade tolerant.
So Frank, as an example, we always had a problem with 14. We could redo 14 tee box, but does that solve the problem of why we created the problem, why the problem was created because of the environment?
That's one thing that we continue to look at. We are, we have every year, we have a, lack of a better term, a tree plan that where we're gonna remove so many trees every year. That's one thing that I'm going to share with John so that he can start building that into his plan. John shared that with me, that we have a plan already this year to take down, I'm not sure the number because I haven't looked at the file yet, but we'll take down X number of trees this year. That's all coordinated with the HOA, so that this way we can, because as much as my concern are the tee boxes, my bigger concern are some of the greens. A lot of the greens a lot of the greens just are sitting in bowls right now. They're surrounded by homes, we don't have enough airflow, trees are right there. So this is really something that we have to continue to look at as we continue to get deeper into the project.
Well, Jeff has looked at that as well, as part of this plan?
The trees,
Yeah.
the removal of the trees, not yet,
Not in detail.
not in that level.
It is on the radar, but I have not been involved in the detailed process of what trees need to be removed.
I would
et
just
cetera.
hate to spend that kind of money, put a great green complex in, and the trees create the same problem, and we lose the tee boxes 2 years.
Yeah, you're 100%
Yeah.
correct. There is no, once we get to this next level, and we all have to remember that we're all gonna vote on this. So whether we're doing drainage, bunkers, tee boxes, whatever it might be, greens, at the end of the day, once we get to that level, that we know that this is what we're going to fund, we get down deeper into the actual almost construction phase, for lack of a better term. Especially if tees have got to come out, or trees have to come out.
I think the club probably needs to start working on discussions with the HOA, whoever makes these decisions in this community, as far as clearing trees. Because shade is not conducive to quality terms. So, somehow, second way, we're gonna have to clear more trees. to achieve our goals.
Jack, given your history, what are the inflation attributes of these numbers? Were they based last year, this year? And are they likely to go up 10% the next year?
These are 30 days old.
And the question would be, what are they gonna be next year?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know.
Historically.
Well, I would say somewhere between 5 and 8%. Yeah. I mean, all the materials are different, whether it's pipe, whether it's gravel, whether it's sand, diesel fuel, etc. And that's a total guess. But I know during the COVID times, it was very volatile. Now it's settled down. So if you did this in a year, you probably can expect somewhere between 5 and 10% increase.
You mentioned the estimate to number of units times unit cost. How much contingency is built into these?
These numbers, there's no contingency, yet on the bigger budget, there is.
This is the bigger budget.
Well, I think, I mean, this is just specific to those tasks. But when you put it all together, which includes more than this as far as permitting, contingency, etc., it's just not shown. But each one of those, once again, has a mobilization and demobilization, so once again, there are multiple tasks that are done at the same time, these prices.
So if we add these up, this isn't the total. The subtotal.
Well, there would be, the additional cost to this would be, permitting and project management, contingency, etc. So,
I think if,
It's an estimate, it's not an accurate.
let's just try to be as transparent as we can.
Microphone, please.
Get this to okay. This is if you're gonna be as transparent as we can, you've got to take a look at all these numbers when you talk about permitting, project management, contingencies. You gotta think about at least another 10%. Okay? And but then again, it depends on if we're going to, what projects where we can save on efficiencies or not. So think of a good round number, you gotta think about at least about 10%, if not a little bit more, maybe 10 or 12. Contingency. Between contingencies, project management, and permitting, whatever it might be.
it's probably higher than 10%. Contingency is typically 10% of whatever the total number is. So, if you add, permitting, I don't know what the permitting cost would be. And then project management, and I'm sure there's some other items that I'm not aware of that, need to budget for.
So, again, once we get past the vote, and we decide what we want to do, these are pretty close, because again, if we can save money on efficiencies versus doing these a la carte, basically what you were talking, I think that's where the big difference comes. Okay?
Any other questions before we go on to the next slide?
I guess my question is, you've looked at this, we've been out on the golf course, and you're the expert. If this was your golf course, what would you do? What would be your priorities to fix this situation?
And that's the next slide.
Alright, yo.
I always look at the technical data that we have, and what is the most important part of your golf course, and listening to the membership of what they said they feel they needed. In my opinion, the most important part of your golf course are your greens.
I agree.
Now, they look really good today. But if you look at the technical data and the opinion of a variety of experts, your greens have a shelf life, and they're way past their shelf life. Now, they're looking great today. Once again, great for Aaron and his team, wonderful. But you never know when you're gonna get a weird weather pattern or a disease or something locks up and your greens go south. Now it's happened. You know, we did Hydro Week on 6 golf holes, I believe.
Incorrectly.
If you just look at the data, and a lot of that may not, there's a lot to take in. But greens typically perk means water, vertical water penetration. They typically perk around 15, new greens perk around 16 to 20. What do you think your greens perk at? One. I mean, you look at the district test, which is in the master plan documents. Go read that document. Yeah. So I think the Hydro Wick and whatever, Aaron's doing, he probably has to make a different cocktail for every green. I don't know, he's not here, I can't ask him, but I'm guessing that's the case. So, addressing the most important part of the golf course, in my opinion, are your greens. That's the lifeline. You lose your greens, you lose your golf course. And then implement the bunkers at the same time, which seems to be a high priority for the membership, and I tend to agree.
Jeff, I have a question concerning greens, specifically the colors to the greens. You take a look at the colors when you look at the surroundings, the new renovation, because some of our colors, I believe, have a negative slope, for example. It's also my experience, I remember here since 1991, that the color height, the grass color height,
It's
is not
higher.
as high as it should be, and I think that could be a downside of moving to riding greens more as opposed to walk behind more. But it seems to me, for example, number 16 would be a good example. If you ball is back left in the green with a chip, your back pin, the chances of that ball rolls across the green, the chance of it stopping on the collar, or even slowing down, is just about nil. Because of negative slope, the ball rolls all the way down to 20 feet below the height of the green. So it's extremely difficult. A flop chip back onto that green. And that's not the only green that has that, what I call negative collar, or very sparsely in terms of grass height.
Okay.
Not a particularly high height of grass. Is there a USGA specification for the height of the grass collar?
There's no specification, and every course is different based off conditions, based off turf variety, based off intent. And there are places that they want that to happen. So that's really a maintenance decision. It's not a design decision. So if the collars need to be higher, then that's an error call.
And actually, green number 15 is a similar design on the right side of that green. So that's something we should take a look at in the renovation.
Okay.
Are these riding moors, are they herb collars? Was it learned that once they kind of sit as opposed to a walk behind the board, they've got it designed.
Well, I'm sure the grass line has changed over, how many years the green's been regrassed. So a lot of times that's a mowing pattern situation. Where is the core? Where are they mowing it? What are they mowing it with? What's the intent? But point well taken. Thank you.
Along with collars, Jeff, do you recommend making a consistent material around the collar? We have zoysia around our bunkers. We have Bermuda around the greens. There's egress into that. When we redid them,
a couple years ago. Some of the collars were removed. If the grass was healthy in spots, they just left it whatever it was. Could be Bermuda, could be zoysia. Would you wanna clear that all out, make it one material?
Ideally, you want one turf variety. I mean, there are a lot of courses that are doing zoysia around the bunkers, two strips, because of, there's less runners that go into the bunker, less maintenance.
Right.
But it's a different color, different texture, different, maintenance practices. So it's really a decision by the maintenance team and the club, kind of what direction they wanna go. But in my opinion, the decision we made in Pine Lake was to do everything Tahoma 31. So it's very easy. It's all the same turf around the green surrounds, and then obviously Bermuda on the greens.
And I have one other question about your recommendations, specifically related to drainage. Drainage seems to be one of our biggest problems with our paths in a number of holes. 4, 7, for example, 12, a couple of other places that are really eroding away because of drainage. Are you considering redoing the paths when you do drainage?
That is not in my scope here, but I think the club has I made some recommendations to move cart paths.
Yeah.
Because they're in play. That was not a priority. So did we take the next step? I think the club did get some pricing.
We are looking at cart paths, because that was also very much a high priority. It is, again, as we look at this, we look at this meeting being in and around the detailed design for the golf course. There are still detailed designs that need to be positioned for the house, for rackets as well. So as we look at priorities, other priorities for the house, which I don't want to digress too much off of this presentation, but is for parking lots. And so when we have vendors and contractors here giving us prices for asphalt, whether it's for a parking lot, really no difference in asphalt, whether it's gonna go down on a parking lot or it's gonna go down on our cart paths. So we're looking at different options there, so to help deal with our cart paths. I forgot who was asking that question, Jack?
Yes.
Yeah, so, ideally, like number 4, that would be completely renovated because of the drainage issue that we have that's really eroding the cart path. 17 is another one.
16.
Yeah, there's few spots, obviously, throughout the course that need to be, looked at primarily because of erosion. And again, whether it's trees that are pushing up the pavement, or it's erosion from drainage, all those are being taken a look at and considered. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
So we'll look at option 3, once again, in a perfect world, and the bucket of money was deep, then green surrounds, bunkers, and tees. You basically almost have a golf course. And then option 4, it would certainly make an impact, but in my opinion, it doesn't address the biggest asset of your golf course, and that's your greens.
Jeff, I have a question you said on bunker design. It's going to be quite expensive to eliminate the steep sandy slopes and many of the bunkers. I wonder if we do.
It's going to be expensive?
Yeah, well, everything's expensive.
Okay.
But I wonder if you looked at, or it's worth looking at, what Greg Norman did at his previous golf courses in Naples, where he put vented faces on his steep bunkers. Not natural grass, like in Scotland and the UK, AstroTurf.
Eco bunker. Yeah.
The red with AstroTurf. I never solved Aaron's problem. In terms of.
It's extremely expensive and very time consuming. We can fix it. Fixing the bunkers is not difficult. It's reshaping. It's putting the bunker liner in, loose sand, drainage. It's really the shaping exercise and knowing how to do it to make sure that it's sustainable for the next 10, 20 years. Good point though. I mean, they're great looking bunkers, but you won't like the price ticket. Okay, so let's look at, next steps. So, you know, we talked about prioritization, you know, what the club feels they want and need. You have my recommendation. I think there's some marriage between the two. I think it's important to, you know, when I was speaking with Dan and Frank is, you know, should I interject what I think, even though it might be different than what the membership is considering. But I think as your consultant, it's, you know, I'm obligated to tell you my professional recommendation. So we need to define timelines that is suitable for the club. You know, I think I'm guessing there's a vote in December. Is that right? Somewhere around that timeline. Once the scope of work is identified and the members vote on what they want done, then we can move to next steps. When funding is available, funding is in line, we can start bidding the project. Going to qualified bidders, bidding process, etc. There's about a year and a half lead time getting golf course contractors because they're so busy. So it's not like you're gonna snap your fingers, you wanna do it in 3 months, boom, you have a contractor on site, get it done. There's gotta be some lead time. And then the construction process based off whatever the club chooses, somewhere between 3 and 6 months. I do want to go back to one slide. Okay. Then I swung back edited. But basically, there was a timeline slide in the presentation that basically, you have a construction process, and then you have a growing process. So the construction process, you know, depending on, you know, the scope of the work, then there's a growing process. And typically, a growing process is a minimum of 3 months. So typically, when we do schedules, we work backwards from the grassy window. Grassy window, since you're at warm climate, it's June, July, and August. So then you work back. At your growing window, you work back to what your construction window would be, depending on whatever the tasks are chosen, whatever scope is chosen by the club. So that's how we came up with the time.
Jeff, do you mind going to, maybe you have this, I know it's not in your deck right now, but that, how long certain things are, the lifespan of certain areas? Do you have a comparison of where we are relative to these lifespans and whether we are on the lower end or the upper end, and whether if we're on the lower end, are we red, yellow, or green in the sense of like, this is really bad, or we are gonna have like maybe we're at 10 years on the irrigation system, but we only had 10 more years to go.
Right. So I'll go through and highlight the ones that I know. Someone can fill in the void, but greens, 15 to 30 years. You've regrassed your greens. I think there are a couple greens that have been redone California style, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 greens. But generally speaking, your greens are 50 years old. The subsurface, the drainage are 50 years old. They haven't been touched since 1972 when the course was built, except for a few variances. Bunker sand, redid your bunkers in 2022? So what are they, 3.5 years old?
Yeah, but not really done. So they're
In my opinion.
aged out.
Okay, so we're almost at 5-year range. Irrigation system you just redid, you should be good to go with that. Cart paths, way beyond. Was it cart paths ever redone? 10 years ago? Tees, 15 to 20 years. My understanding, there's never been a tee renovation. So they're 50 years old. Corrugated metal pipes, as the gentleman over here mentioned, that's really for an engineer to look at, the storm drainage. That's not really a golf course element, but a good point. A lot of golf courses now, at this age, have corrugated pipe that's rusting out, you're getting sinkholes, et cetera, so, very good point. Bunker drainage pipes, 5 to 10 years, kind of the same as the bunker sands, and grass, that's, who knows? I mean, it's based off a lot of different variables. The biggest thing is the greens. That's why I gravitate back towards that. But, the question is I'll have the appetite for it.
What are the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4? In parentheses?
That's a good question.
Okay.
You know what, probably, there's probably some footnotes that we can pick up.
Is that something you can put on a slide, because we're here and we can hear that, but it's very important for the members that are not here to understand where our life is compared to what the useful life is. Can you do that for us, or somebody do that for us, because that's really important.
The meeting is being recorded, and we're gonna be posting this presentation as well.
So how many people are gonna watch this video?
Yeah.
Well, they should have been here, no offense.
I agree, but we need their vote. So in order to get their vote, I think it's very important that we break it down, because if you look at the greens, they're gorgeous right now, but they're 20 years past their useful life. Topic. So that's important information.
I agree, I think visualization of what you just said would be extremely helpful. Because I think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's something that we want to.
Right now,
When we read it, we can go back.
useful shelf life. So, were I to extend the life of our greens for another, 5, 10, 50 years, what am I looking at then? I mean, I'm not looking at craters, what exactly happens at that point where you go, oh, Jesus Christ, we gotta do something?
When they start dying.
Yeah. When the grass grows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, you could have another 6
No,
months.
but I mean, what is a green that, when it absolutely folds up and dies on itself and gives up the ghost, what does a green look like? And is that what we went through, 4 years ago? Or is it more severe than that?
It's probably at least that, if not more.
So
I don't have,
grow
I don't have a crystal ball, I don't know if your greens are gonna last 6 months, 6 years, 10 years.
Yeah, but we don't jump.
But all I'm going off of is the data that has been presented
Superintendent does have
by more
grass.
than one very qualified person. I mean, there's reports and recommendations by testing labs and people that actually maintain greens, etc. Go look at the pictures in the master plan of every green we took a core sample. Go take a look at those pictures. I think that would shed a lot of light on what that subsurface is. Try to read the report. I know it's a little technical, but I think I think you can understand it.
Jeff, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I think what he's asking is, how long do you think our greens under the current conditions will last?
The problem is, Mike, you really don't know. But here's
They're not
what we do
resilient.
know. So maybe this will help. This is what we do know. I think Eric brought up a really good point. We've done a lot of work to our greens, let's say over the last 4 years. And we've redone 18, well, let's count, 3 times? 3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
17 twice.
17 twice, 16, I think,
Twice.
twice, right? All that within a few years. 15 and 2 and 15 are totally different bases.
Yeah.
So they're probably gonna be, if I was gonna guess, maybe a little bit better infrastructure for the green. The issue is right now, Aaron Nolan, our superintendent, has been doing an unbelievable job in keeping the greens smooth, getting grass to grow, treating them properly, where today we have a great product. The infrastructure of them, everything that we don't see, that's the mystery, okay? We fixed some of that